All right, everybody, welcome back to London's Pretty Cool Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Patrick Briggs.
And I'm the other host, Erin Briggs.
And today we are speaking with another amazing guest. You've seen her embroidery in local shops and living spaces. You've seen cool people wearing her custom clothing, and you've likely driven her walk by a recent massive mural she's worked on as well. She's created a niche all her own, known around London as the Soft Queen and Forest City Sweetheart. We're so excited to be talking to Alayna Hryclik of Flirt. Alayna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Good,
great.
thank
Thank you so much. So, Alayna, thank you for taking the time again. If you aren't aware, this is an episode that our listeners have been requesting for quite a while. So
highly requested guest.
Really? Okay.
We're very happy to appease the listeners and give them what they want.
Well, that's exciting. Hello, listeners.
So Alayna is obviously the business owner, runner, creator of everything Flirt. Do you mind telling people who don't know, what is Flirt?
So Flirt is what I like to call an apparel and home decor lifestyle brand. And what that means is that I create clothing and stuff for your home and accessories with a soft touch. So always trying to keep kind of like a gentle spirit in mind and whatever that may be at any given moment. So lots of fun, small things to wear and to own.
And how did you start the business? Like the name Flirt, I remember you were working in the coffee shop downtown Covent Garden Market at the time when you started it. Tell us a little bit about the beginnings of it.
Yeah, so Flirt, the name of the business, started as like an inside joke with friends. It was a long ago nickname for myself. And when I was starting to think about branding my artwork into a business, I wanted something that would give me a little bit of separation from just calling it like Alayna Hryclik's art, which at the time it wasn't quite the entrepreneur like hub that London is right now. So I was thinking in terms of like what I should call my business and brainstorming names, and I just kept coming back to like Flirt would be hilarious. So usually most of my ideas start with, I think that would be funny. It started as an inside joke, and then it just seems to be the name that sticks, and it's memorable. People think it's funny, so it sticks in their mind. So I definitely think it was the right choice. I'm glad I stuck with Flirt. But yeah, the way that Flirt started was I had graduated from Western's art program, feeling pretty dejected about a career in the arts, thinking that, after graduation, it doesn't actually seem as possible as it did maybe in my first or second year of university. And so I took a couple years just to work in the coffee shop, like you mentioned at Has-Beens, which was a departure from working in a print shop. So I've been developing all these different skills. And then I think I just needed a couple years to take space away from being an art student and feeling that kind of pressure, and then find my way back into making things for fun. It started with a lot of like making stuff for friends, for family, doing little commissions here and there, and then started to build into more of a cohesive body of work with specific things that kind of kept coming up that I was making that people were liking. So once it hit that point, then I was like, okay, time to take this a bit more seriously, and then tried to develop kind of the brand around that. But yeah, definitely just like a slow progression from art school burnout into part-time career, side hustle, into now my full-time job. So
the kick to make it a full-time gig is a tough one to make for like that decision for a lot of people. What made you finally go, this is what I'm going to do full-time, I'm going to dedicate myself to this and I'm going to support myself this way?
Yeah, I feel like most of my decisions come back to burnout, and my decision to go full-time was because I was burning out working full-time at the coffee shop and then doing Flirt part-time. So I had been working full-time hours and then doing pop-up markets on the weekends, like doing shows all the time, silk screening at night into like the late hours. And there just hit a point where I was just like really tired all the time and things weren't going super smoothly with that energy in other places in my life. So kind of, you hit a point where you're like, okay, am I just going to keep burning out forever, or am I going to make some serious changes? And at that point in time, when I decided to start working on Flirt full-time, was right after getting accepted into the LEAP Junction program, which I know Erin was a part of as well. And that gave me a little bit of security to kind of take that leap. And then I did do a little bit of part-time work for Grow and Bloom when they first started back in the day to kind of like ease that transition. But then by, I think it would have been like winter of 2017, 18, that's when I went full-time. So it's been full-time since then. Definitely a lot of struggle in the beginning, a lot of overdraft bank accounts and maxed out credit cards, and struggling through that. But, you know, you got to put in the hard work, and then you start to level out and it gets a little easier.
Just kind of talking about starting your own business, female-fronted businesses, and like what it's like to be a woman in business. Have you found it to be more difficult or easier? You feel like, what kind of support do you have as a woman in business in London?
I think that there's a kind of like a more general stigma around female entrepreneurs in like society as a whole. But I find in London, there's a lot of female entrepreneurs in this city, and I've never really felt any significant moment of doubt from other people thinking I can't do it, or like any sort of pressure that felt negative, which is great. And I do feel like a lot of privilege in that, because I know that that's not the case for a lot of people. They have less supportive communities, less supportive families and things like that. But I definitely think that there's been, like, with the kind of entrepreneur boom, because everybody knows at least 5 different people who own their own business or are starting a business and things like that. I think that a lot of it ends up kind of coinciding with the maker community a lot, and like the artist community. And artists have always been kind of like the hustlers on the side, like making their art while they work whatever other 9 to 5. But yeah, it's just been really nice to see how that's kind of aligned with the recent boom of female entrepreneurs and arts-based businesses opening up, and it's been pretty great to see. But yeah, I felt nothing but support in my journey, so it's been good.
Nice. And then also, when it comes to like your branding, a lot of your brand and what you put on your items is to do with like your handwriting. So you write out the words or whatnot. How did you decide to kind of use your handwriting to promote your brand? So even when you're looking at collaborations, you know it's a collaboration with Flirt because you can recognize your handwriting. How did you kind of make that choice?
Well, it's nice now that it's become such a distinctive like signature of my work. That's taken a lot of years to even get to the point within, and largely within London. Like, it's not like a Canadian-wide thing. People see my handwriting and they're like, oh, Flirt. But in London, that seems to be the case, which is really very special. But I don't know, like, I've always had really nice handwriting. People have always complimented it. So it's been kind of a thing. And I used to always kind of think in my head, like, I don't know, how do you make art based on handwriting? And I did a couple things in school and, like, you know, art classes back in the day, and nothing really seemed to stick. It was all very tacky approach. So I think it was just a lot of trial and error. And over time, I found a way to kind of let that become its own thing. And the ways that it works with Flirt is more of a minimalistic approach than I've done previously. So it definitely lets the handwriting speak for itself and gives it like space to be like an art moment, instead of, I feel like in the past maybe I added a bunch of other elements and then it looked messy and all that. But yeah, it's definitely been over time kind of my handwriting becoming important to me, and it's awesome that other people think it looks nice too.
Yeah.
How do you choose some of the words that you put on the shirts? You have shirts with like hello, yikes, hard pass, you know, go away, that kind of stuff. Like what inspires these words that you write on the shirts and your designs?
So most of them just are stemmed from inside jokes with friends, or like my brainstorming sessions for new product designs are not what other people would imagine. Like, I'm not sitting there like writing out a list of words being like, would make good shirt. It's like, they're brief moments, and which is why I really like it as part of my business. It's like moments in time with friends where I might say something and then I think like, oh, that would make a good shirt. Or there's like a small reference that I make with a friend, and then I like to do silly mock-ups that I'll share with friends every once in a while, and then sometimes that leans into that would be a good shirt, and that's really funny. But yeah, I feel like some of them have been like reactions to situations that then spin it into like a positive thing. Lately I'm getting into like a little bit of a departure from just the handwriting stuff. Like, I'm trying to do what I call, there's like my handwriting, my illustrative elements, and then like more of my graphic designed items. So I'm trying to challenge myself with that, but also allow like the business to grow a little bit from there. And with those things, there's less of a focus on like one word or one phrase, and more of like, there's this idea for a product, and then sometimes the words just kind of make sense to go along with that. So yeah.
What's
Definitely
an item?
helps for oh, sorry, Aaron, you go ahead.
No,
My
it's like,
apologies.
I was just gonna say, what's an item that you made like in your business that you weren't sure that, I guess, your customers or your base might not respond to it, but then when you dropped it, it was like you had this crazy response that you never expected?
I feel like I always have a little bit of that little lingering self-doubt, like imposter syndrome. But the nice thing about silk screening your own stuff is that I can do like a really small launch, which takes a lot of the cost related pressure off of kind of launching something. So I feel like my answer would just be most of the things that I do. There's always this element of like, are people really gonna like this one? I think I was the most nervous about, it's a shirt that I put out that has my name, like just soft flirt, in like kind of like a gothic script, and then there's a bitmapped, which is a silk screening process, bitmapped image of roses below it. And it was such a departure from everything I'd done previously, with most things being my handwriting and things like that, that I was kind of worried that it was going to be a little bit too soft goth for my for my audience. Because in my own personal life, I feel like I straddle this line between like, my joke is like soft flirt and soft goth, because I do like some of the like nods to the, you know, pop punk hardcore scene, and I enjoy that, but I've built my audience around people who like soft flirt. And so sometimes I get a little bit self-doubt in there with like, are people gonna like these other elements that I'm kind of slowly introducing? But that shirt was really well received, and it kind of did help to remind me that like people are here to support me and my art, and so not to feel as much pressure when I want to create something that's maybe a little bit different from what I've done before. And I'm actually working on a really big collection for spring, and some of the items are like very different from what I've normally put out. So
It's exciting.
yeah, exciting to challenge yourself too, and like force yourself to grow a little bit more as an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of growing, and that this is the Forest City, you've been given the title, maybe officially or unofficially, of Forest City Sweetheart.
Yeah.
You know, it started as a saying in your items, but like your customer in the city have kind of made it your name almost. Like, how does that feel?
Yeah.
What's that been like?
So even before it became an item, it was my nickname from the girls at Filthy Rabina. So specifically, I remember Darlene referring to me as the Forest City Sweetheart multiple times. And so it just kind of stuck. And then when that shirt was kind of, I was like brainstorming it, I was thinking Forest City Forever or Forest City Sweetheart. And I put like a poll up on Instagram, and Forest City Sweetheart seemed to win out. So it was kind of funny. It's a nickname for me now, and I've sort of embraced it just because I love London and it feels like a special nickname to have. But it definitely started because the girls at Filthy Rabina, who have sold a lot of my work in the past, referred to me as that. So
Very nice.
yeah.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your Halloween drops, because Halloween's personally my favorite holiday, and I love all of the stuff you do for Halloween. So like, what made you want to do special items for Halloween out of all holidays that most people make special items for?
I love this question. I love Halloween and I love Valentine's Day. Those are my two favorite holidays. I love the kitschy pink and red aesthetic of Valentine's Day. I love the like Cupid and hearts everywhere. I think that that's great. And then I love ghosts and I love Halloween content and you know, all things Halloween related, Halloween music. And I think that that's where like my playlists started, which have been a way to kind of, I don't have a lot of hobbies, but I feel like making playlists has become one of them. So the first year I did more Halloween stuff. I had the spooky shirt and I did the playlist. And then this year I just kept coming up with new ideas, and I had been kind of doodling a lot and coming up with all of the drawings that then turned into stickers and the tote bag and different things like that. So it's definitely kind of become this new way I'm working lately, where I just kind of draw things. I just write the ideas down. And then most people would probably go back in and curate some of that and edit it and maybe select one idea, but I'm kind of like, let's just do all of them. But yeah, I love Halloween. I love the Gerard Way song that was released in 2019, I think it was, the Baby You're a Haunted House.
I knew it.
I got a little Baby You're a Haunted House tattoo. And then that kind of inspired the Be Your Own Haunted House phrase, which also led to Go Haunt Yourself. And it just became like a lot of fun. Halloween is so much fun, and I just want to make Halloween stuff forever. So this year I'm planning like a bunch of stuff. Like I just want to make all the Halloween things. So,
I love the Halloween things. It's like
August.
Yeah, it's such a struggle not to like buy everything. Just like, okay, I'm just gonna decorate my house in Halloween stuff forever.
And I think like last year too, like we had such a hard year that I think people really leaned into decorating for Halloween, decorating for the holidays, like celebrating all of the holidays, because it was like a way to find a small moment of joy. Yeah. So I definitely noticed that my Halloween stuff was really well received. I did, I think, like 3 different runs of printing the Halloween shirt that I launched. And that surprised me, because I just never know like what level people are going to be into something. But it definitely seemed like people were using Halloween as a bit more of an escapist thing from our current reality. So I was happy to be able to provide some kitschy Halloween stuff, content.
Yeah.
I love that it's My Chem inspired. Like, just I had that feeling when I saw that shirt. I loved it. That's a great song.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I feel like pop punk was like so much of my formative years as a teen that like I think people would be silly to think that it wouldn't weasel its way into my business at some point in time. So yeah, the Halloween stuff definitely kind of My Chem inspired, and then that soft Flirt shirt with the goth on is my hardcore tee. I like to call it that. It looks like every hardcore band has a t-shirt that's like that format, like picture on the bottom, text on top, throw in some gothic handwriting, done.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Those are some of the best ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Classics. The classics.
So you make these amazing, so speaking of music too, you make these amazing playlists for the holidays. You've been putting these together for different holidays like Valentine's and Halloween. How did you decide, like, why did you decide to do this? Was it for your followers? Like, and what was the response been like?
Well, the response has been amazing. People really like them. I don't think that I was intentionally looking for it to fill a void or to add a different layer of content that I could create for people that was branded as soft Flirt content at the time of like making the first ones. But that's sort of what it's come to be. Is for me, like, my brand is an extension of myself. And for a lot of time I was like separating the two. There was soft Flirt, the brand, and then there was Alayna Hryclik, the artist. And recently I've been sort of trying to merge those a little bit more back together, because people seem to be like really stoked about me as an artist outside of soft Flirt, the brand. So it's definitely become a bit of a way to add a bit more personality back into what I'm doing. And it's also really fun. I really enjoy making them, and I really enjoy like curating them. I spend usually the entire year adding songs to a playlist, and then the closer it gets to that holiday, then I'll go through and like actually, you know, take out the ones that I don't want. And I spend a significant amount of time rearranging them so that the order that they go in like flows really well, that it like feels like a concise curated playlist instead of just like songs shoved in a folder kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's become like something to do also as a bit of a break when like maybe I've done a ton of silk screening and like my arms are tired, like I've been working really hard. It's a good way to give my brain a bit of a break outside of the physical work that I do, which is a lot. I get to just kind of sit there and listen to music, and it's like my downtime, and I love it. So
side question, have you enjoyed that new Machine Gun Kelly album?
I don't listen to Machine Gun Kelly at all.
Well, he put out a pop punk record.
Yeah,
so.
I've been hearing this. I'm a little bit, so in my own personal life, I'm really into, and I've been talking about this a lot, like just with like friends and whatever, but I have been intentionally trying to seek out like female bands and like female fronted music for a significant amount of time. Like I love Frigs is one of my favorite bands. They're based out of Toronto. Frigs, Tange, Ellis out of Hamilton, like female fronted, ideally Ontario bands is like where I'm really trying to put my support and like throw my support behind. But it kind of has this side effect where like I don't really actively seek out new music by male musicians, which isn't to say that that's not good music and not valid, but just for me personally, I'm trying to elevate women in my community, and that has kind of overflowed into the way that I listen to music. That said, every once in a while, like right now, I'll just get into a kick where all I want to listen to is like dude fronted pop punk that's like from 2009.
Yeah.
Who
Who doesn't want to listen to old Taking Back Sunday records?
Right. Manchester Orchestra is my shit. Guess there may be more like emo, but anyway, labels. Yeah, haven't listened to the new Machine Gun Kelly. Not for lack of interest, but just for lack of radar. It's just, you know, my Spotify is full of awesome women in music, and that's usually where I try to find the new stuff. So.
All right, then I have a side question. What would you say is your favorite local female fronted group that you listen to?
Thunder Queens.
Thunder Queens. Of course.
Thunder Queens. But Ellis she's in Hamilton, but Ellis is Linnea Sigelco, and she's been a very close friend of mine for many years now, and she's making really, really beautiful music. And if you have not listened to Ellis, you should listen to Ellis.
Great shout out. All right, back to Flirt. So recently you announced that you're moving on from your space at the Western Fair Market.
Yep.
What would you say, like, how do you think your time there has helped your business grow? And then what can we look forward to in the future for like a actual studio space?
So I loved my time at the Western Fair Market. It was really fantastic. It definitely, to me, feels a bit more like a business incubator for the way that my business has been growing. I think for a lot of people, you can definitely have a lifelong career at the Western Fair Market because a lot of it is steeped in having regulars, and there's like people who go to the market, they get their produce, then they go upstairs and they visit their favorite vendors. And that's a really special thing about the market. But for me, it started to become a little bit limiting in terms of how I could store my inventory, how I could sell my inventory, and the things that I can do were limited to Saturday and Sunday between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. So I absolutely love my time there, but I definitely just feel like I just feel the growing pains of my success, which is not a bad thing at all. It's a great thing.
Heck yeah.
And I just crave more space and more freedom to do more within that space. So for me, I'm not rushing into anything. I'm like kind of biding my time, waiting to see if the right space pops up. But my next space is not going to be a open 6 days a week for shopping for 9 hours a day. It's going to be studio first, but a space that also has retail in it in a way that you can see the studio, you can see what's happening, you can see the making happening while you're there, and something that hopefully can be a flexible space for events, for workshops, for maybe a small show here and there, like, pop-up show or music or otherwise. And I think I'm just really like looking forward to a space that's completely under my control, because as great as collaborative spaces are, I just feel like 4.5 years in business, I'm just itching to have control over every aspect of my business. So I'm really looking forward to a space that can be all the things I need it to be and more. But yeah, the market was great. I really recommend it for people that want to try out like having a brick and mortar space, because since it's only open 2 days a week, the rent is much more feasible, I think, for some. And the ways that it has like built-in community can really help to foster that community within your own business. And for me, that's where a lot of my most recent customers have come from, is people that found me at the Western Fair, or people who were finally able to see me in person because I was at the Western Fair. So I have nothing but good things to say about them. Love them so much. And now that I have all these connections and these amazing friends that I've made there, like I'll be doing more with Spruce Moose, and doing some more collaborative collections with Joel there, so that people can still find a little bit of soft flirt at the Western Fair, but just won't be me in person.
Very nice.
That's really exciting. I just can't wait for the poster on my wall that has like the recent show at Soft Flirt. That's going to be great.
Yeah,
that'll be
or
fun.
the Soft Flirt grand opening.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. I have a lot of big dreams about that space and what it can be. So hopefully those come true, maybe hopefully by fall. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with my timeline. So
if you could choose like an area in London that you could open up your brick and mortar studio, where would you choose that to like have your storefront?
Yeah, it's tricky because there's so many little pockets of London that I love. At the top of my list right now is definitely OEV and Wortley.
Yeah,
I think OEV is a really special space for a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses, and I would love to stay in OEV, but there's something about Wortley that feels really like comfortable, and I can't ignore the fact that with, pandemic, it's a little hard to be a physical store right now, and Wortley is just that itty bitty bit more safe, and so it's appealing to me for those reasons. As well as like it's very walkable, it's very accessible. So my mind is definitely going to downtown or downtown adjacent communities. I don't want to be anywhere that's impossible to get to by bus or by bike. That would be my preference, but I'm open to like pretty much anywhere in London. And if anyone's listening to this podcast and has any ideas, feel free to send me a DM. Because I'm open to suggestions. And if you want me to be your business neighbor and you see a space, let me know.
I feel like Forest City Gallery just moved or are moving, so that's an idea. Think about.
I'm on the board at FCG. We're in the process of trying to find a new space, so they're also looking for something. Yeah. You're
kind of like, well, why don't you guys get started, get moving over there, so I can.
I'll take the other one.
That'd be great. So we mentioned it in the intro, but you have started recently this really cool thing. I'm not sure if you're going to be doing much more of it, but you did this amazing, huge mural on a laundromat here in London. It's the Neighborhood Laundromat Cafe.
Yeah.
And you it's this humongous mural on the side of the wall. Can you tell us about how this came about, and if there's any plans for more murals in the city in the future?
Yeah, I definitely want to do more murals. So the Laundromat Cafe, owned by Mike, who's super awesome, so shout out to Mike. That started because I've been talking with Jess Thornton of Spanky J Signs, who's a local supremely talented sign painter in our city and a friend of mine. And her and I actually at a chastity show at the Rec Room back in 2019, we kind of had joked about we were both talking about how we're super into murals and we want to do murals, we want to paint murals. And we were like, we should become like the mural girls of London and just like paint murals all over the city. And that led to us connecting with Savannah Sewell when she was at Dundas Place in downtown London. And we were talking about a mural with that. And then for a couple different reasons, it didn't quite happen. So Jess and I, you know, we'd spent all this time designing this mural, and we were just like so jazzed on murals that then we just went to social media and we were like, hey, who has a wall? We really want to do a mural. Like, somebody help us out here. And Mike reached out to Jess and said, like, I've got this massive wall. It's 900 square feet. So like absolutely huge. And he was like, I've got this wall, if you guys want to come take a look at it and see. And we kind of were a little bit intimidated at first, but I feel like my personal motto could just be challenge accepted at this point in my life. Like, I'm not afraid to tackle a new creative project, and neither is Jess. So we figured out what we needed to do. We broke it down into a couple different steps, and then spent the entire month of October painting, like truly the whole month, because Jess still has a 9-to-5 job. So it was a lot of me working in the day, and then she'd join me at night, and then we'd both work our whole weekends painting this mural. And Mike helped out a lot too, and we had some friends helping out. But yeah, we're really hopeful to do more mural projects in the future. We've got a couple ideas for some projects that would just need funding and spaces. So hopefully we can look into applying for some arts grants and things like that, so that we can get some murals funded. Because it's pretty expensive to buy that paint to get that going, and you want to get really good quality paint so that it lasts a long time. But yeah, very hopeful to do more projects. I love murals, specifically in London too, just because, and I'm going to go off in a tangent, which is going to lead to a second tangent, so I'm just going to say that now. But it, to me, feels a lot like giving back to like the city, and kind of like adding some public artwork so that people who live in the city have really exciting things to see and to be a backdrop for their lives. So that's become something that I'm really passionate about, and I've been wanting to make murals in the city for quite a while now. I've still got one idea kind of in the back corner of my mind that I'd really like to make happen. So hopefully we see that mural. I'm not going to say what it is, because then it'll be a nice surprise. But hopefully just can make more projects. And with our mural too, I should mention that while we were painting our mural, the murals on Dundas Place between like in Market Lane were happening. And the theme of those murals was Forest City Playground, and it was all about, you know, urban exploration, and Tourism London was funding that project. And they saw our project, again, thanks to Savannah Sewell. I feel like she's just such a great person to have in your community, because she's always advocating for everyone to meet anyone and to make those connections. She's fantastic. We'll love her to pieces. But she connected us with Tourism London, and that led to Tourism London adopting our mural. And that was a really special thing, because it kind of really validated what we were doing with, specifically with that area. Hamilton Road's kind of having this really great business revival, and a lot of the business owners are investing a lot of time and energy into like making it more of a destination for people to come to. And it felt really good to see Tourism London kind of hopping on board with that idea as well.
Yeah, I remember like I worked on Hamilton Road while you guys were working on the mural. So like driving down and seeing the parts of it like slowly, oh, this color's done. Oh, now we have another color. I wonder what it's going to say. It was so exciting, like every week being like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what this mural is going to say. But like, how did you come up with like the idea for like explore the forest? Like, I know that's like the big thing on the mural.
Yeah, even before Tourism London became a part of it, it was all about kind of like being a tourist in your own backyard. Like if you're a Londoner and you live here, and it was kind of just like a motivation to get out and explore your city. And especially during a pandemic where you can't really go inside to do things, it was like this idea to get people to get out and like find things to do around the city that were safe to do. And then also the fact that it's on Hamilton Road, which is such like a thoroughfare between like downtown and like the 401, like it's such a main way in and out of the city, that if we kind of thought that it'd be a good way to grab people's attention as like if they're tourists coming to London, or if they're people who are just visiting for work or for whatever other reasons. And hopefully that phrase can motivate people to like look into the forest city and find new ways to, explore, which is very literal, very literal definition of explore the forest, but really just motivated about tourism, getting people outside and getting people to like find secret little pockets of London that they maybe didn't know about before that they will fall in love with. So
yeah. And then I just have one more question about the murals. Since COVID, there's been a lot of businesses that have had to board up their businesses just out of protection, and then those have turned into murals that they're using. People have painted them, and I think a lot of people in London are appreciating those. How do you think these murals kind of popping up, maybe just for the shorthand, are going to kind of change how London looks in the future at wanting to have more murals in the city?
I think there's been a bit of, even just in general with the artists that I follow, there's a little bit of like a mural boom right now. And I think it's because there's a lot of boarded up, dreary, empty spaces that people are sad about looking at. So it's been a way for businesses and artists to kind of take a moment to kind of give people something prettier to look at. And it's such a simple goal, but it has a really great effect. So I hope that when the boarded up storefront murals come down, we can see more murals in the city. I think like a lot of people are maybe thinking more about murals that weren't thinking about them before, or not necessarily even murals, but just like having
Public art.
Public art has become kind of like the safe area of art right now, with the fact that we can't really do a lot indoors still. So
right.
Public outdoor art is pretty safe to do and pretty safe to explore. So I think that maybe we'll see a little bit of movement towards that and see more of that. There's definitely a lot of different organizations locally, nationally, that are doing just that are funding public art and trying to get it in different places. So yeah, hopefully it sticks around. It's so nice to walk around and see color on the walls, and it's cool. The thing about murals that I like is, even if that mural is maybe not your particular style of art, even just the fact that it's a painted wall that brings like some brightness and livens up the space is something that I think most people can enjoy, even if it's not like in their particular style. So
empty walls are empty walls. There's lots of those.
They're boring.
Yeah.
Now more murals all the way around. When they started doing that on, is it York Street with the
underpass?
That underpass part there? I remember that having that moment happen and being like, well, this should just happen everywhere.
Yeah.
Like we should just be allowing artists to be painting the whole city. This is the way it should be.
Yeah, and actually St. Thomas is doing like a lot with mural painting right now, which is pretty cool. They're so close to us, and their art scene just has some really great stuff happening. And if you're ever in St. Thomas, there's like at least 10 new murals in the past like 2 years. So it's pretty cool.
More murals, absolutely.
Yes. Going back to your business, what are some items that people can look forward to seeing in the future for Soft Flirt? What's coming up that our listeners can get excited for?
So, well, it's coming up pretty soon, so maybe I can start teasing it with this. So I'm working on some bandanas, which I'm really excited about. They're popular right now, and I just kept having these ideas for ways to kind of design my own bandana, so I decided to go for it, and I've come up with a design that's very much like Soft Flirt flash sheet inspired. So
cool.
Really stoked on the design. I'm going to start printing them probably tonight. But yeah, I'm working away on a bunch of different things for kind of like a full collection launch for spring, which has been the result of just a change of pace of working. Now that I'm not at the market, I can kind of have like weeks of making stuff and then a week or two of like really trying to sell stuff and break up my workload that way, which has been really nice. So yeah, I've been for the past 3 or 4 weeks just kind of feverishly printing lots of different things. So have bandanas coming out, a long sleeve t-shirt, which is a first for me, which is a really exciting design that I'm stoked on. And then yeah, just I'm excited about little things too. Like I've done pins and patches and keychains, and I'm always really interested in looking for like the new little thing that I can just design and throw a design on. So maybe people can look forward to more little things as well. Oh.
I love the idea of your there's like a flash, like soft flirt flash, like having a sheet of just like a bunch of different soft flirt designs or something. Like that's just, I love that idea. Like they should put that up in the local tattoo shops and stuff.
So funny you should mention that, because my best friend Melanie Wayland is a phenomenally talented tattoo artist who just opened her new shop in Stratford, Ontario, called Union Tattoo and Barbershop. So very exciting for her. But her and I have joked about doing a collab flash sheet like for 3 years now. We just haven't made it happen yet, but it's definitely on our to-do list. We think it would be really fun to do like a collaborative flash sheet. I think it'd be great to make temporary tattoos of that flash sheet, and then she can do the real tattoo.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. But she's definitely, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, we joke about it a lot. She's done some tattoos on me of the soft flirt things, which is really funny. And I may have tattooed her one time, and it might say heck yeah, and it may have turned out perfectly, but also this is redacted because that's, shouldn't be promoting that.
Not allowed.
Not allowed. Not encouraging you to, as an inexperienced person, pick up a tattoo machine and tattoo your tattoo artist, but we did it and it was great. So I love tattoos. I have a ton of them, and I love like tattoo art, and I love the formatting of flash sheets. I find that seems to be where my mind goes with like the way I've been drawing things lately, is just like doodling a couple little things and putting them together and make a flash sheet. It's kind of what I did for a lot of my Halloween stuff too. So yeah, I think you'll see a lot more of that kind of theme in terms of artistic style coming up in soft flirt now and in the future, because I'm sure me and Mel will find a way to make that happen in the future one day. Just not sure when.
I love the temporary tattoo idea, but I was just going to say, if somebody were to get a permanent soft flirt tattooed, is that like a 10% discount? Is that implied with that?
I mean, maybe I should figure out like a permanent rule about that, but I can figure something out for sure.
Exactly. We won't solidify anything here.
Yeah,
but,
nothing concrete. But maybe there will be some incentives in the future, TBD.
Yeah.
So in speaking of incentives, just like in general, where can people purchase your items? Where can listeners follow you? And if there's anything else about your business that you just want people to know about, like, floor is yours. This camera, that kind of
Sell yourself.
Hot one style, I like it.
Yeah.
So currently, you can only buy my items very select few places. So online in my Etsy shop right now, I am working on a website, which will be a bigger, better web store that will hopefully be done in the spring. So then you'll be able to go to softflirt.ca, which is very exciting, and buy all your soft flirt things. But apart from online, directly from me, Studio 205 in Hamilton is the store that I have kind of given priority to with getting some soft flirt items too. There's a couple other spaces that might have a couple things here and there, but Studio 205 has more of my stuff, more of a collection, and they're really fantastic. And then I have a collaborative ongoing project with Joel at Spruce Moose in the market. So we have collaborative banners that are in Spruce Moose fabrics, and you can buy those directly from Joel. But the best way to see what I'm doing is to follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to make TikTok happen, but it's not going so well for some TikTok, I will say. It's something that I'm actively trying to figure out and get better at, because I do see social media kind of shifting towards TikTok right now. So I can't unlearn that as somebody who advocates for artists putting their work on social media. But I still have some learning to do with Flirt TikTok. But you can follow me on TikTok. It's just I'm not promising amazing content there yet. But yeah, Instagram is the best bet. It's where I'm the most active. So at @SoftFlirt on all platforms. Yeah.
Awesome.
Beautiful. We're going to now get into some London-based questions, as we are a London podcast. We're going to ask you just about some favorite places and things here in the city. So first off, your favorite place to eat in London?
Favorite place to eat in London is probably Zen Gardens. I love Zen Gardens. It's the best vegetarian restaurant. Also, RIP to a time when I could eat at the Root Cellar, because that was also a really great restaurant in London. But I would say top 3 would be Zen Gardens, Root Cellar when I was able to do that, and I love the food that Rebel Remedy makes and the ingredients that they create to make it easier for me to make food at home.
Nice. Since London is kind of like the city of neighborhoods, what would you say is your favorite neighborhood in London?
So I love living in Woodfield. I think it's really great. There's something really calm and snoozy about Woodfield that just makes it just feel really nice and dreamy to live in. But I definitely have a soft spot for OEV. It's where a lot of my business, I feel like, has really happened in the last couple of years. So I would say it's kind of a tie between the two, but maybe for living, I love Woodfield, and for working, I love OEV.
Nice.
Now, shows haven't been happening for a while, but once they get back to it, favorite venue, and that could be I guess it's a little bit of a two-parter we'd like to ask. So it's like a favorite venue to watch music, and then I guess actually now that I'm about to ask that question, we normally ask that to musicians, a two-parter, because I go, "Where's the favorite place to play?" And the favorite place. But you are such a show, like you've been to so many shows. You might as well have been on stage and be a part of it.
Yeah, I feel like I could maybe answer that in terms of like favorite place to go see a show, and then also favorite venue to do a pop-up show. Like
yeah.
Business.
Perfect.
In which case, it's Call the Office on both fronts. I love Call the Office, and Punk Rock Flea is my absolute favorite vendor market to be a part of. I miss it more than I think anything, right? Like that's the biggest loss for me with the pandemic is Punk Rock Flea. I just love that. I love Shayna and Julie and the whole team that puts that together. And I really miss that specific aspect of community. And especially with the last couple Punk Rock Flea, they were also starting to do there was a show the Friday night before also at Call the Office. And that was just really fun and special.
Yeah.
But I also really love kind of the DIY ethos around London shows, and the fact that a lot of our venues are closing and have closed over time. So when certain things come together and you kind of have to plan an event and figure out where to host the shows, I love that like weird space that you'd never think to have a show in, and how those kind of sometimes pop up, like thinking back to the different like winter spectaculars and seeing shows in different spaces there, and it's just fun. I always loved the former N+1 cycles by Forest City Gallery, like the small shows there. That was always a fun one. Shows at FCG are always great. I know you said one, but I'm just rambling off all of my favorite places. I miss shows so much.
It's funny, we were just talking about that before you hopped on, how much like we miss going to see live shows and everything like that. What is one small business in London that you probably couldn't live without if they were to shut down tomorrow or whatnot? You're like, that would be the end. You go there all the time.
I'm like, bad that I'm blanking on that. I feel like, I don't know, like all of my staples are just like at the different markets. So probably just the Western Fair Market, Covent Garden Market in general. Like, I think they hold a lot of different businesses, so it feels like a cop-out to say that, because it's like there's not one specific thing, but they're also just like hubs for small businesses. And I've spent a lot of time just at farmers markets in general, and I think that that's something I really enjoy, whether working in it myself, which I did for many years at Has-Beens as well, the Covent Garden Market. Yeah, I love our farmers markets, so I would say just those in general.
Is there a hidden gem in the city? That could be a person, place, thing.
I feel like I need to steal Alex's answer from a localist feature a while back and say the deers at Mount Pleasant Cemetery. Because she gave that answer one time, and then her partner Innes and I went to the cemetery to do photos for Halloween, and it was just like magical, and I have since completely fallen in love with that space. So I'm just going to totally steal her answer from a previous localist feature and say specifically the deer at Woodlawn and Mount Pleasant Cemetery.
I've heard about that from so many people. I have to check that out sometime.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
We only have like one more little section here, if you don't mind. We've got our classic game. It's time for this or that. So in this game, we're going to do a quick lightning round. You get to choose between one or two options. We're going to throw that out, and just know there's as little thinking as you can do. Just right away with the answer. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Victoria Park or Springbank Park?
Victoria Park.
Would you rather go to a house show or a venue show?
House show.
Brown and Dixon or City Lights?
Brown and Dixon.
Dundas Place or Wortley Road?
Dundas Place.
Prince Albert's or Stobie's?
Prince Al's.
Has-Beens or Fire Roasted?
Has-Beens.
Sunfest or Home County?
Home County.
Masonville or White Oaks Mall?
Masonville forever.
Rebel Remedy or Grace's Restaurant?
That's hard. They're both amazing, but Rebel Remedy.
I knew you had to have one tough one. That's good.
And then finally, Western Fair or Covent Garden Market?
That's also hard. Western Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, Western Fair.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Passed through. There was no issues there. Alayna, thank you so much for taking the time and doing this with us today. Yeah, like we said, this has been an episode we've wanted to get done for a long time, so we really appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything that you wanted lastly to just send out to our listeners, any knowledge about yourself, promote, all that kind of stuff?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This was super fun. I guess for listeners, you can expect a lot of new exciting things for spring. So take a look at my Instagram and follow along. I'm going to start sharing some sneak peeks soon. And I'm really excited about that. I've been working hard on that for a while now. And to any young artists out there listening, I'm just going to say I advocate for arts entrepreneurs at all levels. And if you're feeling imposter syndrome or feeling down about anything, just know that I made it out of the trenches of graduating with an art degree and not knowing what to do. And now I have a moderately thriving business in the arts. So support is out there and you can do it too.
Absolutely.
That was great. Great way to end it.
Wow. What a beautiful message.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm Alayna Hryclik of Flirt, and you're listening to London's Pretty Cool Podcast.